My name is Pastor Hal York, and welcome to Truth in the Trenches. Today we're going to be Proverbs chapter 25, verses 8 through 10. What your eyes have seen, do not go hastily to argue your case. Otherwise, what will you do in the end when your neighbor humiliates you? Argue your case with your neighbor, and do not reveal the secret of another, or he who hears it will reproach you, and the evil report about you will not pass away. I think these verses highlight some important principles when it comes to living in a community or neighborhood with other people. The last part of verse 7 probably should be part of verse 8, and it highlights a reality we can all understand. When you live around people, you see things. You see how they keep the yards, mow the lawn, and you know when they go to work and when they come home. You know how many children have, and so on. But I think this verse talks about some warns us about one of the favorite sports of our culture today, and it's a sport of jumping to conclusions. We live in a very visual society which complicates things. Yes, we see things and we draw conclusions, thinking that because we have seen these things, we understand the things we've seen. We see someone enter the house we don't know or have never seen before, and we can easily jump to the wrong conclusion. We haven't seen the husband or wife for a while, and we can jump to the wrong conclusion. Now, we could just talk to them, or better yet, we could just mind our own business. But instead, we talk to others about what we've seen. We talk to others about the possible conclusions we have reached. We make our case, and we jump to these conclusions too hastily. And that's the world that we live in, for the most part. It may not be a neighbor. It may be somebody at the church. It could be a colleague at work. But the reason is we jump to these conclusions is we don't have all the facts. If we had all the facts, we would know that this person we've seen coming in and out of the house for the last few weeks that we've never seen before. We always are quick to imagine the worst, but as soon as we worked up the courage to maybe go talk to the person or the neighbor, we find out it's their sister. Their sister's been coming over to help them with their sick wife. And she's a nurse, and so she's been a great help getting him over this hump. Now, if we'd only asked that in the beginning, before we started talking to everybody, we'd be in a lot better position. But now we get egg on our face, and now we got to go talk to all the people that we told we think they're having an affair, that they're not having an affair, that it was her sister. Or maybe the reason we haven't seen the spouse in a while, or the parents, because they're helping a sick parent. But asking them discreetly and delicately, well, that seems kind of nosy. I mean, after all, it really isn't any of my business. So you just talk to others about it and make it a prayer request, because that always sanctifies everything, right? But these verses describe the importance of privacy and discretion in our personal relationships. Yes, we see things, hear things, maybe things that we shouldn't have seen and things that we shouldn't have heard. But that's what happens when you live in close proximity to people and relationships and neighborhoods. But just because we saw them and heard them doesn't mean we understand the things we see or the things that we're hearing. In these days of social media, privacy and speaking to people personally and in confidence seems to be a thing of the past. How many friendships and relationship with neighbors and colleagues have been ruined because of the unwillingness of others to come in private to resolve an issue or to ask a question that we're concerned about and get some facts just to help us sort things out in our own mind, when it's really just a case of misunderstanding what we've seen or heard, misunderstanding things you were not well informed about because, well, to put it bluntly, it was none of your business to begin with. Friendships can survive many indiscretions and hurts, but when things that we were told in secret, and those secrets are not kept, and what you've seen, a true friend would have just kept to themselves. But instead, it's repeated to others. When we violate trust, that can often tear relationships apart and make them almost unreconcilable. Trust is a very hard thing to win back. This is especially true in marriage. We know things about each other that no one else knows. We know things that they're not wrong things, but we've all done silly things nobody else knows about except our spouse. We've said silly things. We have silly little quirks, habits. And if we were to tell others, it would be just cruel and hurtful in ways that can do a great deal of damage to a marriage relationship. The bottom line these verses are talking about is that we are often humiliated when the truth comes out about what we thought we saw and what was actually going on. And when that happens, we are the ones who suffer the loss of our credibility, our reputation, our character, our integrity. And those are very hard things to regain. We need to learn the forgotten art of just talking to people, working things out, keeping secrets, making sure we know and understand what is going on before we start talking. If we have a legitimate concern about something you see or have heard going on, ask, number one, is it any of my business? And number two, if it seems serious enough, in love, we can go talk to them. Go talk to them before you talk to anyone else. Ask them for a cup of coffee and just sit down, say, how are things going? Is everything okay? But talk to them before you talk to anyone else. Be very careful before you make someone else's business your business. That's the sign of caring. It's a sign of maturity. It's a sign of a true friend and a good neighbor. Proverbs 16:28 says, a dishonest man spreads strife, and a whisperer separates close friends. Proverbs 17:9, whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. Proverbs 17:17, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Are you a good neighbor? Are you a good friend? Having an issue? Concerned? Talk to them, not about them. Talk to them, not about them. Just talk to them. Be a good steward of what your eyes have seen, what your ears have heard. Do not go out hastily to argue your case. Otherwise, what will you do in the end when your neighbor humiliates you, when your friend humiliates you? Argue your case with your neighbor, and do not reveal the secret of another. May this truth guide us and guard us in the trenches of life as we seek to live our lives for the glory of God and the good of others. May God bless.